Facebook is under fire from lawmakers after reports that they did nothing to protect the information of millions of their users. This stems from revelations the data firm Cambridge Analytica was able to access the private information of 50 million Facebook users without their permission. That was part of their work for a major Republican donor. Steve Bannon was an executive at the firm, which was later hired by the Trump campaign. Part of the reason we know all this is because a whistleblower, Christopher Wiley, was Cambridge Analytica's research director.
What I do know is that Cambridge Analytica was meeting with Corey Lewandowski in 2015 before Trump had even announced and offering the services that I'm talking about right now.
And that's what I wanted to get to. Can you explain, because you were one of the founders of this research, Can you explain how it would be used? I think you've even used the term weaponized data. How? What would it be used to do?
Yeah, I think what's really important for people to understand is that Cambridge Analytica was birthed out of a company called SEL Group, which is a military contractor based in London. This data was used to create profiling algorithms that would allow us to explore mental vulnerabilities of people and then map out ways to inject information into different streams or channels of content online so that people started to see things all over the place that may or may not have been true. This is a company that really took fake news to the next level by powering it with algorithms.
And joining me now on set is Dan Patterson. He's a senior writer for Tech Republic. And basically, listening to Christopher Wiley, what he's saying is this company was able to go in, identify personalities of American voters that could then be manipulated. And this is what we're talking about. But that data, your data, my data, all of that came from Facebook. Everybody is wondering, well, how could Cambridge Analytica do this? But Facebook essentially gave these researchers, this company, the keys to the kingdom.
Well, Facebook gives every advertiser the keys to a kingdom. What happened here is that the surveys we see in our Facebook newsfeed, or the assets, the posts that we see in those newsfeeds, as soon as you engage with that and you click that blue button, give permission, right? That's not just giving the website or the application permission to your data, it's giving permission for that application to access your social graph, all of your friends' data and information. And if you scrape this and then what's called normalizing that data and putting it into a database, all of a sudden you can find all sorts of connections.
So why did they do this? Facebook has come out and said there was no breach. And technically, there was not the traditional breach, right? The security breach of the firewall. But this was a breach of a different kind. How do you explain that to people?
That's right. This wasn't a code hack like we saw in the Equifax attack last year. What happened is that Cambridge Analytica misused the permissions that Facebook gives to almost every advertiser. What they did is compile their own database after tricking or convincing users to engage in assets. They then created their own marketable database.
So by doing this, wasn't it incumbent upon Facebook to do due diligence on this company, on the researcher, that they allowed access to their clients, basically?
Well, it's incumbent upon every data company and every algorithmically based company, that includes Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, to do due diligence on all of their advertisers.
Okay, so we look at how this works, right? Why was Facebook, again, they suspended this company, Cambridge Analytica. They suspended the researcher that the company had outsourced to gather this data on you, on me, on what our personalities are like. They've suspended it, but they knew about this 2 years ago. Why did they not step forward and do something about this?
Well, we'd have to ask Facebook why they didn't step forward and do something about this. But again, it is incumbent upon us to make sure that what we're putting into social networks and other algorithmically based cloud sites is safe and secure and is not information that we might want to be exposed. We've been told this time and time again: if you don't want it on the internet, don't put it on the internet.
Right. Now, Mark Zuckerberg has come out and defended Facebook, saying that this was not a breach of information. They say that they did the right thing by trying to get rid of these companies, certainly after the fact. But when we look at the totality of all of this, Facebook says it is not a media company, and yet everything it does is essentially controlling the media that we get every single day on those news feeds. How can they claim they're not a media company, and yet all the news that many people are getting comes directly from this company?
Well, again, we have to ask Facebook why they make a claim like that. Facebook behaves in a way that is very similar to a media company. They serve us content. They also ask us about what we like, so that they can serve us accurate content or content that may be based on our interests. So it may not be a traditional media company, but no company is a traditional media company anymore, and Facebook behaves a lot like other media companies.
So do you feel that down the road there may be some type of regulation, or is this exactly what Facebook is trying to avoid right now?
Well, I think regulators look at how the public's information, and especially how public investors' information, is used and potentially misused. So what regulators do is up to them, but I would suspect that this type of behavior courts regulation.
Okay. Dan Patterson, thank you so much. We appreciate it. So much to talk about, but everybody on Facebook needs to know their information is out there and it's potentially vulnerable. All right, Dan Patterson, thanks so much.